Well, howdy, friends and floorheads. It sounds weird saying that, but don't worry, Craig will be here momentarily. Wanted to give a brief recap of what has gone before in our Trail of Cthulhu campaign. Our investigators were retained by one Janet Winston Rogers, who wanted to figure out why her father had a strange psychological collapse in 1924, about 11 years ago. After some investigations in Savannah and Los Angeles, it seems clear that whatever happened to him was tied to some kind of unnatural cult ritual that her father, Walter Winston, and his team disrupted. But the same cult appears to still be active. Um, the investigations then led the team to Mexico City, where they were investigating local cult leader Jonathan Brooks. They haven't found him yet, but it seems like he's sending an expedition into the jungle in the Yucatan, searching for ancient Mayan ruins. It's not entirely clear why he's doing that, but they're unlikely to be pleasant reasons. So our heroes have traveled to Merida in the Yucatan, and we're going to join them on their first evening there. They've hired a guide to begin their own expedition. They're in the process of getting permission from the local landowner, and we're going to get ready to get started momentarily. But first, I want to cut away to something that the players and the characters aren't familiar with yet. We see a dark room with walls of rough reddish stone. It looks like there might be symbols or glyphs of some kind carved into the walls, but it's hard to see because there's only faint light there. It's coming in through these long horizontal slits on the walls. We hear kind of a ragged, nervous breath, and then we see a man shuffle into view. Balding man with a big forehead, big egg-shaped head, scraggly beard, his eyes kind of always looking around in every direction like he's expecting an attack. There's blood on his shirt, although it doesn't look like he's injured. One of his suspenders has come loose, and he's got a revolver hanging loosely in one hand. And then the light coming through those slit-like windows flickers and gets a little brighter. And we see him shuffle up to one of the slits and look out at something we can't see. And we just see his eyes go wide. And then we go to credits.
Show's yours, Brian.
Excellent. All right. We pick up in the city of Merida in the Yucatan on the early evening of Thursday, July 11th. You have made arrangements with an American expat guide called Rick Lucas, who is willing to guide you south in search of the expedition by your friend Dominguez. You know that you're probably going to have to make arrangements with Francisco de la Vega, who is the local landowner whose land you'll be traveling on. And basically, the afternoon/evening is yours. What would you like to do? Don't all shadow ones.
Do we make contact with Mr. de la Vega this afternoon?
I think so. Yeah, right. Because we're going to want to get clearance to go in the morning. I'm wondering if Mr. Lucas can kind of do a handshake for us. I don't know if he's familiar with Francisco or not.
He knows of him. I mean, he knows he's the guy that the land belongs to, and he knows that he's from local discussion. He's apparently particular about people traveling across his land. He doesn't know him personally.
Okay.
But I mean, anybody you ask in town about him says that he's not an unfriendly man, and he's kind of used to these kind of questions going on. So I mean, it seems like it's the kind of thing you could walk up and knock on his door. I will say that Rick says it may not be tomorrow by the time he's got the porters and equipment ready.
Okay.
So it may be the following day. He's doing his best to get it organized. I will tell you that this is going to be an expensive expedition. So, I mean, certainly you guys are going to be needing to get in touch with Janet and get her to foot the bill. Do you offer any explanation as to why we're going into the Yucatan jungle? Or is it just like, trust us, this is important?
From what I remember last time, we basically said that our friends got a bit in over their heads and when it went before us, and we haven't heard from them. So we're trying to go figure out what happened.
Right. I know that's what you were telling the locals, but what are you telling your employer?
I thought that's what we did tell her.
Janet.
That's right. You were using the term friends with. Okay, I get you now. Okay, right. All right, that'll do.
I think. I mean, is it even possible for us to call?
Are we Telegram?
I mean, Telegram is certainly your most reliable.
Okay.
But you probably could get a phone call, but it would be slow and noisy and expensive.
Right.
We send a telegram.
Yeah. So maybe Dr. Adrian, I feel like coming from you would be the best if you want to give Janet the heads up and let her know. And then maybe either Alice. I feel more comfortable with you as being the face versus myself. But I'm happy to accompany you if we want to go visit our landlord here.
Perhaps if Adrian and Sal, because I'm just thinking, do we want to be sending a telegram directly to Janet, or perhaps via Sal's contacts? And then James and I, we head over to meet Mr. de la Vega, and Adrian and Sal via get funding from Janet.
Okay. That seems entirely reasonable.
Sal, Dr. Adrian, you good with that?
Yep.
I'm all right. Janet's gonna have some choice words for me when we get back, though, but nothing she can't afford.
I mean, she's a very wealthy woman, so she can afford it. But yeah, it's like, you know, why are there $1,200 for mosquito spray? I don't understand.
Don't worry about it.
You were very big mosquitoes.
Yeah,
We haven't trashed the rental. Oh no, it's right. We haven't trashed the car.
That's true. Yeah, you bought the car.
Also, while we've been discussing what we're gonna do, Adrian has just been sketching in the corner, sketching things like the mountain that Rick told us about that looks like the cave entrance is a mouth, sketching 8-sided stars, things like that. Just trying to old ziggurats, things like that, just to kind of start piecing things together. Sketching helps him start get the mind going.
Process.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You're not doing that with like your eyes rolled back or anything, right? You're just kind of just normal sketching.
You don't need to know.
Okay.
I feel like I really want Adrian's notebook at the end of this to use as a prop for some future campaign.
Like, wow, the madman.
Exactly. All right, so you're drafting that together. James and Alice, you make your way over to Hacienda de la Vega, which is, you know, the big house on the south side of town. You know, it's a pretty, you know, nice looking place. Clearly this is old money and it's been here for a while. It's got that kind of plantation style going on. You know, and you ring the doorbell and, you know, after a few moments, what is clearly a servant, a butler or of some kind opens the door. And he says in Spanish first, good evening. And then seeing James also says in accented English, good evening.
Okay. Buenas tardes, senor. We are, and Alice in well, not broken, but heavily accented Spanish says, we are American explorers. We are looking to speak to Senor de la Vega. Is he in? Would he have time for us?
He says he is conducting business at the moment, but please come in. And he invites you into a little like sitting room just off the front foyer, and says, may I tell him what this is about?
We are seeking, we are wanting permission to travel over his land on an expedition.
Okay, and he nods as though he's heard this before, and he says, if you will wait here for a moment, I will bring the matter up to Senor de la Vega.
Muchas gracias.
Disappears off upstairs.
And I don't sit down.
Okay.
I'm pacing nervously. I'm anxious, and really glad that Alice is here.
Fair enough. Yeah, I
James,
mean,
it's hot enough as it is. Just chill.
I know, Alice. It's I've never been here. Never been to this part of the world. I don't know the language. I don't know. How do you feel about Rick? I haven't been able to size him up yet.
He seems like a nice enough guy. So
there's a lot of things we just don't know, and I don't know.
But I mean, that's why we're heading out there, to find stuff out.
It's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
so around this time, the butler comes back, and he says, I am very sorry, but Senor de la Vega has a very busy afternoon today. He has requested if your party would be willing to join him for dinner tomorrow evening.
Oh yes, that would be very hospitable. Yes, please.
Would 5 o'clock be acceptable?
Yes, that would be good. It would be, and I look to James, kind of lifts an eyebrow, like 4 of us, 2 of us.
Show 4 fingers.
Okay.
Okay.
We are a party of 4 plus guides. Would that be all right if our companions join us tomorrow evening?
Yes, of course. So 4 or 5, you said, with a guide?
With the 5 with the guide, but it's Mr. And I look how he responds, whether he recognizes the name, Mr. Rick Lucas.
Doesn't seem like it means anything to him, but he has a little notepad and he writes that down with like a golf pencil, and he says, very good, then we will look forward to seeing you and your companions tomorrow evening.
Gracias. Hasta mañana.
Indeed. And he shows you out.
Wow. I could really do with a cool drink. It is so hot.
Same.
Shall we head back to the hotel?
Yeah. I have a thought, Alice. What do you think about Sal and I taking our guide out for drinks this evening?
Oh,
sure. See if
yeah, I just want to I would feel better if Sal and I had a better sense of him before we just go into the middle of the jungle.
Okay, well, we are going to need him, so but yeah, better to know up front if
I'll keep Sal on a short leash.
Well, I was going to say, taking someone out.
yeah, that's what I heard.
Totally different to Sal.
That's not the phrasing I use when I bring up the idea to use Sal.
Yeah, and just to be clear, there were several other guides like in the neighborhood that seemed to know the area. This was the first guy you came to because he was American and spoke English and Spanish. But certainly you've got options if that doesn't work out for you.
So killing him certainly on the table.
Okay. we can. I just marked next to his name replaceable. I just put that.
No, that's sounds like a fine idea. I'm sure. And Adrian and I'll stay back at the hotel, see if we can find anything in the notes and books.
All right. Sounds good.
I'll present that to you, Sal, when we kind of reconvene. And just, just would like to get a better sense of this guy. We literally just met him. And I don't know about you. I've never walked through the jungle before. So,
Well, I kind of seem parts of Chicago are a jungle. But yeah, the thought of taking him out there and stranding us in the middle of the jungle or feeding us to God knows what sort of animals out there. Yeah. Besides, I could use a good drink.
yeah, let's get a few in him and kind of size him up.
All right.
Sounds good.
Seems reasonable. So yeah, you're able to track Rick down. He's not a hard man to find. You can see him. He's in the process of negotiating with some local, supply purveyors to sort of get a bunch of things bundled up and ready to go. And yeah, he says, I'm going to wrap up a few things here, but maybe I'll meet you around 7, if that sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, Rick, where is a good place for us to have a few?
He says, well, there's a cantina over on the corner here. It doesn't actually have a name. It's just, and he sort of leans out from the building he's in and points to it. And it's like, the food's pretty good. The beer's not watered down. They don't mind Americans. So I think that's probably our best bet.
Excellent. And I'll tell you about our conversation with De La Vega, kind of bring you up to speed. Don't make plans for tomorrow night. He's going to have has invited us to dinner, but I'll tell you all about that tonight.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. And yeah, so he will see you in a couple hours. Adrian, you get the telegram sent off to Janet via cutouts in Chicago. There's no immediate reply, but you weren't expecting one. What, if anything else, would you like to do this afternoon? Are you just focusing on your sketching, or?
Whenever they bring up the invitation to dinner, he does look kind of like his mind's all over the place at that, a bit concerned. And if after Sal and James leave, if they're leaving like pretty immediately after getting back, we'll just kind of be talking to Alice. It may be paranoia, but something about being invited to dinner when we're dealing with some strange abomination of mouths is setting me off the wrong track.
I'm sure it's fine. I mean, the Latin American people are often very good hosts, and some good Mexican food. I'm sure it'll be fine.
It's not really that. I don't imagine it's... The only thing I can really remember from dinners with people with money was the cold stares. Did he seem like a kind man, or did you get to meet him at all?
No, we only spoke with the waiter. So, but yeah, I've had dinners like that, but I'm sure it'll be. I don't think. I mainly had them back in Europe, not here in the South America. So
I thought they'd been left behind with my worst years. But it should be all right. Just a bit of nerves. Good to be suspicious, though. Any situation that seems comfortable at the moment is going to make me uncomfortable. So lavish dinner is...
There's nothing comfortable about this heat. Señor, una cerveza más, por favor.
All right.
And Alice is, gotten a fan, is kind of fanning herself. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I never get used to the heat here.
Yeah, you did spend a good few years in Europe. It does something to your climate appreciation.
Well, last couple of years in the service was in Venezuela. Was much,
Venezuela.
yeah.
What for?
Classified. And she just drinks and just sits back and kind of conversation.
Adrian appreciates that. All right.
Very interesting.
Intriguing. Or just Alice deciding, you know what? I'm gonna mess with him right now. I was like, either way, I appreciate this.
Reply
Yeah.
hazy. Ask again later.
Yeah, just kind of talks with Alice for a bit, then returns to the sketches.
Okay, fair enough. Alice, anything else you want to do this evening, or just try and stay cool?
She's just staying in the shade and keeping hydrated.
All right, fair enough. So we cut back over to James and Sal in the early evening, heading over to the nameless cantina on the corner where Rick meets you. So I don't know what I've told you about Rick before, but he's probably in his late 20s. He's enthusiastic. He sort of has that a little bit of the vibe of a college student backpacking around Europe, but with a little more experience to him. He's he's clearly very enthusiastic. He seems to know what he's doing as far as talking to all the purveyors and porters and everything. And he says, I've got just about everybody lined up. So like I said, it probably won't all be ready tomorrow, but the next day we should be able to head out.
Sal, I'm just going to assume you're hungry.
Does the sun come up in the east?
So get us a table at the cantina and sit down. And so Rick, we really appreciate this.
No, not at all.
Us out. I think Alice has some experience with this type of an expedition, but I'll be very honest with you, I don't believe Adrian, Sal, and I know I have not had any. Just want to kind of get a sense, like, can you tell, what did you do before you came here to the Yucatan?
I've been I've done some exploration in the American Southwest, some of the Indian sites there. I was actually only here because I was doing a bunch of pictures up in Uxmal, which is another Mayan site not too far from here. When I realized where we were, there's a book, and he actually reaches into his pocket and pulls out this, hardback book that looks like it's been carried around in the bottom of a backpack for 5 years. And it's just entitled Into the Yucatan Peninsula. And he says, so Arthur Cartwright wrote this, 50, 60 years ago. So he wrote about this place, Chichen Xochitl, which I'm pretty sure is the site your friends were looking for and where we're headed. And he wrote a lot of details about it, but he didn't indicate where exactly it was, which was not uncommon for explorers in those days. They wanted to get all the credit and do the full exploration himself. He died before he could ever, ever publish more, reveal more about it. But I've just, it's a fascinating place because it seems like it's, how should I put it? Like Mayan adjacent. It's like there's clearly a lot of Mayan influences on the architecture and the art from what he's describing anyway, but it doesn't look like it's sort of mainstream Mayan, so it may be some kind of subculture that we don't know about. Anyway, it's been, in this part of the world, it's kind of one of the enduring mysteries of where is this place and what's it all about. So I'm really fascinated at the prospect of finding out more about it.
What should we be worried about?
Well, honestly, if you haven't spent any time in the jungle, I mean, the heat is going to be the big thing. You gotta stay hydrated. You gotta travel carefully. The ground isn't real even. Um, Wildlife isn't generally a problem. I mean, you've got jaguars and pumas, but they're not going to come near a group of people. Um, I mean, honestly, the biggest wildlife problem is probably going to be poisonous snakes, which there are a lot of in the Yucatan. But again, as long as the guide's in front, and these guys all know the area, as long as they're in front and clearing stuff up, and you just watch where you put your feet, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because again, they won't mess with us if we don't mess with them, as a general rule. You find the occasional crocodile, but again, don't expect that to be a problem. Honestly, the biggest potential threat, if we run into them, are going to be bandits.
Okay.
Ever since the Civil War here, there were a lot of folks who thought that the government didn't give up enough concessions. So there's folks out in the wilderness who, frankly, aren't above robbing and kidnapping American tourists. So that's the thing we need to be careful about. I wouldn't expect it to happen, but it's good to be prepared for the possibility.
What kind of protection are you and the guides going to have?
The guides mostly just have machetes. You know, uh, I carry a pistol. And he actually is wearing it, and you can see he's got like a Colt 45 automatic on his hip. I usually don't bringing rifles and stuff isn't a thing. I mean, we're not there to go hunting. That said, if it makes you feel comfortable, I don't think it's a bad idea. Just bear in mind that we're going to have to carry everything you've got, so your guns and your ammo and everything else, 2 or 3 days through the jungle and as long again back, and it gets heavy fast. So I would say travel light, but certainly bring something if it makes you comfortable.
Yeah, Sal and I will be armed.
Okay.
And I there's a little bit in my voice there that I just want to make it very clear to him
Mm-hmm.
that we will have guns.
Mm-hmm.
But anything, Brian, that is making me nervous, or is what I'm hoping is happening, which is I'm starting to get a better sense of this guy. I'm starting to feel better about this guy. Or
Yeah, I think over the course of the evening, you start getting a pretty good feel for him. Trying to think what interpersonal skills does James have?
not enough.
I mean, he's got interrogation, which this isn't really. Yeah, I mean, he's putting he certainly puts a very competent face forward. Obviously, you haven't seen him in action yet. He strikes you as confident and probably a little ambitious. He talks about how he kind of wants to be the guy who sort of brings Chichen Shoshuel back onto the map, and as talking about once he finds it, he's going to do a lot of photography, and then he'll have the information he needs to plan a big expedition of his own to fully excavate it and blah blah blah. So you feel like he's doing this not just to get you where you're going, but also because it's an opportunity for him to sort of make his name. Yeah, he seems like he knows what he's talking about, and you don't get any vibe that he's other than his own ultimate success, he doesn't seem to have any ulterior motives than getting you there and getting you back.
I think when I first got there, Brian, definitely had. I wasn't wearing a jacket. I think I did have kind of shirt, tie loosened up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As we start talking, as I get more comfortable, as I get a few in me, the sleeves get rolled up. I keep undoing buttons. Tie probably comes off and goes into a pocket.
Sure.
I don't know. As Sal, is there anything that you want to know from this guy, or do you think that I'm covering it okay?
I think you're covering it okay.
Okay. So yeah, that might be it then, I think, Brian.
Okay. He does make some recommendations. He says you guys should get, if you don't already have it, lightweight clothing, but probably long sleeves and long pants, just because insects are a thing, and some of them do carry disease. But he just gives you some general advice.
Right.
Make sure everybody has a canteen or two. The porters will have plenty of water, but you want to carry your own just in case. And yeah, he seems very, I guess, businesslike on the logistics part of it.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'll probably focus on tomorrow morning. Then is
Okay.
going clothes shopping.
All right. How late are you planning to make this? I mean, is this a wee hours of the morning trip, or?
No, just finish up dinner.
Mhm.
I'm not going to rush him.
Okay.
But I also don't plan on staying out till 2 o'clock in the morning getting hammered.
Cool. Yeah, no, he seems very comfortable with the whole situation. His Spanish sounds like it's excellent. He mentions along the way that he does speak some of the local Mayan language and also can read a lot of their stuff. So he seems pretty well, informed in the area. But when it starts getting to like 10:30, he's probably like, well, I have a lot to get done tomorrow, so I'll beg off now. And he gets the details on dinner from you. He's like, I don't know. I've never met the man, obviously. Hopefully I'll make a good impression. I don't have a lot of formal wear, and I'm not sure how many options there are in the town here, but I'll do my best to make a good impression.
Yeah, and I don't get a feeling, Rick, that we're supposed to really dress up. So yeah, just wear something nice, but I wouldn't be self-conscious about it.
Okay.
And
Sounds
Sal,
good.
after Rick leaves, before we pay the tab, do you think we want to tout and carry big guns or just small guns?
Well, I was looking for a way to carry the old Chicago typewriter in a backpack.
Okay. I might stay with the pistol. But if you're up for carrying it, Sal, I would feel better with us going into this place into this wilderness with that type of firepower. So I appreciate you offering to do that.
I mean, at a minimum, I think that a rifle would be good.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
pistols are
this
great,
talk
but
of bandits.
range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a
So-
shotgun or two.
It's an idea, actually.
Maybe
How hard would that be?
sawed off?
Yeah. How hard would it be for me to get my hands on a shotgun, do you think, Brian?
I mean, you'll probably have to try tomorrow. There are certainly places in town that you can buy them. It's not like there's
Okay.
a lot of, gun laws here.
Right.
They're certainly mostly intended for hunting, like bird hunting. So they're probably, a fairly small gauge. But,
Okay.
it's a shotgun is still a shotgun.
Yeah. I'll put that on my shopping list for tomorrow then.
Okay. Anything else you gents want to deal with tonight?
Nope.
Adrian?
It would be one thing for whenever they get back. So if there's some that before that, I was gonna wait.
No, that's fine. It sounds like we're pretty much wrapped up there.
Alrighty. Whenever Sal and James get back, Adrian is going to try to pull James aside real quick. Oh, you all right?
Yeah. Just anxious.
I think you're somehow sweating even more than you were before, which is impressive.
Yeah, Doc. I mean, I don't know. If you told me 2 months ago that I'd be in South America getting ready to go into the jungle for 5 days, I don't know if I would have believed you. I just have moments where I'm like, how the hell did we get here? I know what we're doing is important. I am very glad that you and Alice and Sal are here, that I'm not doing this alone. But, it's just little things on top of big things, it feels like. Rick mentioned bandits in the jungle. That doesn't make me feel good. I don't know. But Sal's going to bring the machine gun. I'm going to pick myself up a shotgun tomorrow, I think. And we got to figure out what the hell's going on here, and I don't want to lose any of us in that process. So yeah, I'm anxious.
You know, as much as you say you're thankful that we're all here, and I know you are, you seem pretty determined to do this all on your own. At least get in your own head about it. Not the mission part, dealing with it. Trying
Not
to
much of a
just.
talker, Doc. Sorry.
I've noticed. But I will say, in my professional opinion, heavy emphasis on professional, I don't think it's the wisest to head into a jungle full of bandits and snakes and insects with whatever disease they carry without a clear mind. So, in
be all
my
right.
professional opinion, I think we should talk.
I'm glad to know that's an option, Doc, but I'm okay. And if I get to the point where I don't think I'm okay, I'll let you know. And I'll be honest with you, Doc. 2 months ago you were to ask me that I would be considering talking to a professional shrink, I don't think I would have believed that either. But I'll let you know.
Which one's harder to believe for you?
I'll tell you tomorrow.
If you make me wait too long, I'm going to start charging you for sessions.
You get a nice chuckle from me.
Just nods and walks off then.
Okay. Well, the night passes quietly. I say quietly, it's actually fairly noisy. There's a lot of, jungle noises off in the distance. The town is quiet and nothing disturbs your rest. And then when the morning comes, you have most of the day ahead of you. There are, of course, many shops here. There is a library. There's all the usual stuff you would expect in a largish town, small city. So you've got options if you want to do things. What are people in the mood for? And we can always fast forward to dinner if you guys don't have particular things you want to do.
Well, I think Alice is going to go get some appropriate clothes, a machete of her own. She thinks about a rifle and then decides against it, just gets a machete, good clothes, a hat. And then I think she's just like, well, I'm going to sit next to the pool with a beer and then in the end, she's like, well, I'll head over to the library.
Okay.
See if I can read anything up or no, actually she wants to go to is there a local hospital or a pharmacy or something
Sure.
like
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. There's definitely a hospital here.
Yeah, she'll head over there and see if she can make nice with the local nurse and see if she can get some supplies off the record.
Oh, interesting. So like getting some extra medical supplies?
Just some extra medical supplies, some something again, some painkillers, something against fever, that type of stuff, some bandages.
I'll tell you what, if you spend me a point of I don't know, reassurance, flattery maybe.
Bureaucracy or medicine? Oh no, I've got flattery. I've got flattery.
Okay.
I'll spend a point of flattery. I'm just going to try and make nice with the local nurses and the local.
Yeah, they you find a couple young nurses, and it's not like a super busy hospital, so they have time to hang out and talk. And yeah, I would say that with a spend like that, you get some extra supplies. What I'll call this is you have like a temporary, let's say a 3-point pool for first aid. So basically, you can spend points there without spending your own because you're well stocked.
Yeah, I'll do that, and I try and get to hear from them, like hey, what type of what's the most type of injuries and diseases that you guys are dealing with here, so that I have a bit in my headspace, prepared for what can go wrong and what could happen to the to the group.
I mean, honestly, most of what they tell you about is the same thing you get anywhere. You get somebody who was in an accident and dropped a hammer on their foot or fell off a ladder or whatever. They do have Mosquitoes are a problem. They have malaria and a variety of other, bloodborne diseases. But they give you a pretty good overview. Nothing that sounds, particularly horrific or, disaster prone. They do mention if you say anything about going into the jungle.
Yeah.
They do mention that there are a variety of poisonous snakes. And if you
keep bringing that up, Brian.
I'm just giving you full information about what's in the jungle.
Yeah.
And they say, if you get that, basically tourniquet it off and try and get them back to the hospital as soon as they can, because they got a bunch of, they have some anti-venoms and other treatments here that you can't really take with you because most of them need refrigeration.
And I think Alice gets, really kind of interested, and then it's like, okay, tourniquet and this, and then she's like, well, and if we can't get back, amputation, or she really gets into talking shop with them.
A little too enthusiastic about the amputation. Okay.
And then she'll thank them for the supplies they give her, and she'll, I don't know, perhaps it's their break and they'll go out for drinks, and then I think by then she's gotten everything, and she's like, yeah, I'll grab a paper and sit next to the pool in the shade with a beer.
Okay, sounds good. There isn't actually a pool at the hotel.
Oh, well,
isn't
in the
there,
shade.
But, yes,
terrace.
exactly.
Next to the bar.
Good call. All right, James, I know you were going to go and pick up some supplies. You can get a decent shotgun. It's not what you'd like to have in a combat situation, but it's certainly better than nothing.
A couple box of shells.
Sure.
Gonna keep it light, but that's great.
Okay. I'm going to go out as well as far as that goes, but I'm looking for a double barrel shotgun. Breach style.
Yeah, an old fashioned. I think you could certainly find one of those here.
Okay, I'll buy it. Of course, get the backpack and clothes and things like that.
Yeah, all the
a couple boxes of shells, and then a hacksaw.
I think I see what's happening here. Okay. Noted. Yep, you're able to get all those things.
Okay.
Then I imagine you go up to their room and there are some sawing noises.
Yep.
Okay.
And maybe giggling too.
Okay. Well, that is certainly a thing. All right. How about Adrian? What do you have planned for the day, if anything?
Nothing particular, just kind of, I guess, trying to rest a little.
Okay.
At least one person who's not running around like a chicken with their head cut off might be a good thing for the day before.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. All right. Well, then, if none of you have anything else you want to cover, I am happy to sort of have the day pass, and we'll cut to the evening as you arrive at Hacienda de la Vega. It is, like I said, it's a nice place as you are seeing it for the first time. It's got kind of the lights on, looks very, I don't know if festive is the right word, but it looks welcoming, I guess. It's on the southern edge of town. So like behind it, beyond the property fence is kind of just jungle. Rick is there, he's got like a button-up shirt and like sort of long khakis on, and looks like he's doing his best. He's not dressed in anything super fancy, but he looks almost a little nervous, you'd say. He seems like he's the guy that wants to make a good impression.
If I pick up on that at all,
Yep.
I'm just gonna say, we're gonna do the talking. You're not on the spotlight here.
Okay.
Enjoy the food, enjoy the drink. We've got this.
Yeah. Okay. So you knock on the door, same butler as earlier, opens the door, welcomes you inside with a very formal bow, and sort of waiting in the hallway opposite, kind of dramatically framed in the lighting, is he introduces himself as Francisco de la Vega. He's got that kind of old movie star handsomeness going on with him. He's probably late 40s, you would guess, but he's aged well. He's got the silk shirt and the pink rose in the lapel, and he's very he's very suave. He comes in and says, welcome, thank you so much for coming to my home. And he sort of gets everyone's name, shakes the gentleman's hand, kisses Alice's hand, and basically starts bringing you on a tour of his home. You can smell, there's some amazing smells coming from the kitchen, but this is obviously old money. This is sort of a big plantation style house. There's a lot of you see a lot of Mayan flavored knickknacks, like little bits of sculpture or buildings that may have broken off that had interesting carvings on them. There's a lot of paintings. Adrian would probably recognize one that you're pretty sure is a Velázquez. And there's one that he actually points out, which is a painting of supposedly some Mayan ruins. And Adrian is well informed enough to know that this is probably by a guy named Robert Duncanson, who's a pretty well-known landscape painter. He was one of the first African-American painters that made a success. And he sort of points it out and says, this is called Mayan Ruins, Yucatan, but he never actually came here. He read a book about travel in the Yucatan and decided he knew enough to make this painting. It's a reminder of how inaccurate the few outsiders sometimes have of my homeland is. But he walks you along, and you can see there's like a case on one wall that has like an old beaten up conquistador helmet and an ornate rapier, and all sorts of both Spanish and local stuff displayed there. He yes.
Adrian, actually, whenever we get to conquistador stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he can't help himself. I didn't imagine you would have Spanish antiquities here.
Well, as it happens, these actually belong to an ancestor of mine. I am descended from a conquistador, you see. So it is. I have to bear both sides of my heritage in mind. Yes, this all belonged to Francisco de la Belalcazar. He's a great explorer, and I would say you probably noticed that Rick seems to recognize that name. He doesn't say anything, but he just kind of nods when he says it. And it says, yes, so I these actually, I have willed these to the local museum when I die. But in the meantime, I like to keep them here as a reminder of where I came from.
Very, very important to remember where you come from.
Quite so. And then there's like a soft chime from the direction of the dining room, and he says, oh, well, please come join me. And he brings you into, it's a very, it looks like a fancy dinner setting. You've got the 3 forks and 2 spoons and, all the stuff. And basically he is a very friendly host. He's happy to tell stories about local stuff. He asks you about your travels, what brings you here and that sort of thing. He clearly doesn't want to talk business until after dinner. Sure. Whenever you mention about going into the jungle, it's like, no, there's time for that later. So he, they give you there's this chicken soup with lime juice. There's, some fish, there's a pork loin, there's some venison, all very tasty. Not too spicy, but maybe a little spicier than some of you are used to. The staff are sort of efficient and unobtrusive and quiet. But they're, they keep wine glasses and water glasses full, and they mostly stay out of the way of the conversation. So anything particular you want to talk about over dinner as he's, just in the getting to know you phase, or?
I think Allison will keep it light and ask about the
Mhm.
surrounding, how long has he lived here, and she may say that, well, this is the first time in Mexico, but she's been in other countries in Latin America in the past couple of years, and has he ever been to the old countries, to the
Um,
continent?
he did visit Spain and Portugal a few years ago. He says, I did not quite feel at home there. It seems like so much of it was familiar, but different enough that it was not quite right for me. I find the Yucatan agrees with me. But yeah, this place has been in his family for like 150 years. He was born here basically, so he's lived here all his life. But yeah, and he's happy to talk about travelers that have been through, and he's got some familiarity with his Mayan heritage, so he asks if you've gone to see Chichen Itza or any of the other ruins around here. And he's, oh, you must go, they're fascinating.
Yes, that's definitely after we conclude our business. And she'll compliment him on the food and on the drinks and on his house.
It's very kind of you. My chef has few occasions to really stretch his talents. He's mostly just cooking for me, so I appreciate the opportunity, and I will pass on your compliments.
We appreciate the hospitality.
Well, of course. And sort of as dinner wraps up, you've got some cheeses and nuts, and he sort of he kind of stands up at one point and says, "So we should perhaps discuss why you have come here." And he sort of leads you out onto the back veranda, which is the big porch looking out over the jungle. He's got an interesting local liqueur that he serves, which, come on, cooperate with me here, called Stabentun, which is like a fermented honey with rum and anise, so it's got a little bit of that licorice flavor to it. He offers cigars to the gentleman. And he says, so I understand that you are looking to mount an expedition through my lands. Please tell me what you have planned.
Well, we understand that recently another group by Senor Dominguez has passed through your lands on an expedition. They are acquaintances of ours, and they should have reported back quite some time ago, and we are quite concerned. And so our aim is to, because we are aware this is not a standard expedition and not necessarily entirely safe. So what we agreed with them was that if we did not hear back from them in time, is that we would follow in their footsteps to make sure that everything is well. And Mr. Rick here has kindly agreed to assist us, and it is our understanding that to get where we are going, we need to cross your land, and of course we do not want to be trespassers, and so we are seeking your permission.
Okay, so two things. First of all, probably actually any of you would notice this. When you mentioned Rick, and frankly, even when you introduced Rick, you see De La Vega kind of gives him a little bit of a look. And it looks like he's, I wouldn't say distrustful or anything like that. He's just kind of like, oh, you made that choice. He like seems a little disappointed with your selection. He doesn't say anything. He's very polite about it, but you can pick that up in his face. And the other thing is he seems to be paying close attention when you're talking about the Dominguez expedition and that sort of thing. And, you're obviously positing yourself as friends of theirs who are trying to track down what happened to them. Would you be interested in maybe spending a point of something like reassurance to, sort of encourage him to believe your story?
I would like to, but I'm all out of reassurance.
Okay.
I do have flattery still a point. I've got
God, I'm
yeah.
out of reassurance too.
Bureaucracy won't work. Yeah, I think probably assess honest. Yeah, flattery.
Doc, do you have anything you could spend to help push us along, or Sal?
I actually
'Cause I
have
don't think
a point of reassurance left.
Okay.
Do you mind
Um,
spending it?
yeah, sure. I also have bureaucracy, bargain, credit rating, streetwise, oral history, and assess honesty.
Yeah, I think reassurance is kind of the most relevant one here.
Well, though I think the way he might do that is just mention we think they were also interested in old legends about the children of the night.
And he kind of does a slightly puzzled face, and he says, "I don't. They didn't mention anything like that to me. They said that they were looking for Chichen Shoshur, which is an old set of ruins. Honestly, it's not much more than a few crumbled walls and an old well. I don't know that it's worth an expedition like this, but the Children of the Night, I'm not familiar with that."
From what we understand, it wasn't Mayan. I believe it was actually Nahuatl myths.
More central part of the country.
I believe they wanted to understand the origin of the story. That's part of why they went, and I personally am quite invested in understanding as well.
Fascinating. And that seems to have sort of sent his thoughts in another direction, so he doesn't sound like he's really questioning your motives at the moment.
Yeah, I'll spend that reassurance as well.
Excellent. Yep. Good call. And he says, "Well, I understand your concern for your friends, but let me be blunt. The jungles here are very dangerous, and people are swallowed up in the darkness more often than you may think. I fear that your friends may already have been captured or even killed by bandits. I understand your concern for their welfare, but is it worth taking this risk? You yourselves might disappear just as quickly."
That is true, but what they were after is important, and we owe it to them and to ourselves. So we, yes, it is a risk, but one that we accept.
And he kind of nods and sort of sips his drink as he looks over the five of you. And he says, "Well, I will not tell you not to be loyal to your friends." And he kind of looks over at Rick and he says, "I hope that you will forgive me for saying so. But I would recommend, unless you are perhaps more experienced in such expeditions than you appear to be, you might want a guide with more local experience. I mean no offense, Senor Lucas. I'm sure that you are passionate about the area, but if I am not familiar, you have not done any actual jungle trips south of Merida, have you?" And Rick is kind of like, "Well, no, but I've studied the maps extensively, and I think I know where we're going." And De La Vega kind of makes a face, and he says, I am concerned that overconfidence can be dangerous in the jungle. I know several other experienced guides I can recommend you, but I will not tell you not to make the decisions you have made. I hope that no one comes looking for your expedition in the future."
I kind of, for the first time, I've been quiet for most of dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I say, Mr. De La Vega, I appreciate that. Appreciate the hospitality and the cigars. Did our friends ask permission of you the same way we are?
They did. They were much like you, polite and persistent, and they had what would have been my first choice of guides if he was not with them. So I let them pass. And to be clear, if you insist on going, you have my permission. I just want you to be aware of the consequences. It is not a safe place.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So the guide you would have recommended didn't make it back. Is that what I understand?
Yes, he was with the Dominguez Exposition. His name was Jacinto Exposito. He knows the jungle here as well as anyone in Merida. I hope he's all right, but after this amount of time, I would be very surprised if he were still free, let us say.
Did you get any information from your guide friend about what the expedition was about? Did you have any concerns?
Again, it sounded like they were heading to try to rediscover Chichen Xochitl. They were honestly a bit cryptic about what exactly they wanted there, but they seemed very intent on going to those ruins in particular. As I say, there's not much left there from my understanding, but they seem to have their own intentions. Perhaps you could tell me more about why they're so interested in the place.
We honestly, we were left in the darkness, I think, as much as you are. This is really good, and I kind of like motion up with the drink,
Right.
but I think I need to relieve myself a little bit of it. If you could just point me in the right direction.
Sure. And he, he actually just kind of gestures to one of his servants who will come and show you to the guest bath.
Yeah, and I'm going to follow that servant, but before I get off the veranda, I'm grabbing the upper arm of Rick, and Rick needs to pee too. So Rick's coming with me.
Okay. He sort of, the good idea. And he it's up there as well.
And when we're out of earshot of the veranda, I don't care about.
I mean, the servant shows you where it is, and he basically leaves you because he's not going to stand there and watch you.
So what was that about, Rick?
I don't know. Apparently, he's decided that I don't know what I'm talking about.
He's been eyeballing you all through dinner, like he knows you. And you told me that you've never had any interaction with him.
I haven't. I mean, maybe he's heard of me. I mean, I haven't been shy about, talking about my interest in the ruins. It sounds like he's got some guides that are, I don't know, friends of his or whatever that he's trying to hook you up with.
So I'm tomorrow before we head out. I've got a lot of poking around to do. I've got a lot of conversations to happen. So this is your one chance to tell me if there's anything I'm going to find out tomorrow about
he says,
his guides, your relationship with him, and what the hell is going on here.
I swear to you, man, I've never met the man. I think he has some idea of who I am, but I honestly don't know. And you're pretty good at picking up lies. You've spent a lot of years as a PI. He seems genuinely honest and a little perplexed as to why he got that reaction.
Okay. I'm good then.
Okay. So you guys make your way back.
I think while they're gone, Alice might, ask, and then perhaps also ask Mike, well, who would you recommend as a guide, as a local guide? And
I would probably recommend for you a gentleman by the name of Pablo Garza. He's a local man. He knows the terrain. He knows the language. He knows the folklore. He doesn't speak English, I'm afraid, but he's an honest man that would serve you well. Mr. Lucas, he says while he's out of earshot, is like, I mean, he's very enthusiastic. He may know about expeditions in general, but he doesn't know this area. And I am concerned that his enthusiasm may blind him to some of the dangers.
Well, would you recommend if we took both?
If it is within your budget, I think it is not an unreasonable choice. They might complement each other.
That's very, very sage advice. I mean, you have lived here many years and seen many expeditions leave, and well, I hope at least some return. We do aim to be the ones that return.
Yes, I would certainly hope so. You seem nice. I will say that I have had bandits shot on my property, not recently, so perhaps they have learned their lesson and moved farther away, but I would be careful.
Yes, I think should probably the bandits, and I glance towards Sal and also back to I think the bandits are not so much what we're worried about.
What then concerns you?
Poisonous snakes, mostly.
No, that's reasonable.
Off the top of our head.
That's reasonable. The Noyaka, moccasins, rattlesnakes, coral snakes, a wide variety of vipers. Yes, the jungle is not always welcoming to outsiders.
And, well, perhaps we will find refine these ruins, and and I imagine at that time Rick and
Probably coming back about
and
now,
James
yeah.
come back, and so then we will. Mr. Rick will have something to write about, and hopefully we will find our friends alive. She kind of tacks that on.
I wish you luck.
Yes, and then when we come back, we can tell you of our adventures. And
I would very much love to hear it. Your invitation is open.
Yes, and she raises the glass of Stavento and says, and perhaps enjoy this wonderful liqueur again.
Very good. And actually, as you guys, because it sounds like we're pretty much wrapped up here.
Yeah.
So as you head out, he actually presents you with a bottle of it.
Oh.
Since you and Mr. James seem to be fond of it, perhaps it will bring you luck on your expedition. But I probably wouldn't drink it in the jungle. Keep your mind clear.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And as I say, good luck on your expedition. I hope that I will see you return soon.
Yes, we will.
When I get a chance, without Rick, but with my 3 other friends.
So let me. So basically, you guys make your way back to the regular part of town. Rick seems, he seems kind of in a little bit of a funk. It's not like he did anything wrong, but for whatever reason, De La Vega doesn't like him. But he's like, well, we'll just have to prove him wrong, I guess.
Rick, that name meant something to you. His ancestor.
Belalcazar?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and he sort of well, he doesn't have it with him, but he mentions the one published source about Chichen Shishul says that it was Belalcazar was a conquistador in this area who apparently was determined to go and find it, and he and his men took off to find it, vanished into the jungle, never to be heard of again. It's just interesting that it's all right in the same area.
Do you think that means De La Vega has interest in it? Personal interest as well?
I mean, maybe. He certainly didn't sound like it. I mean, I think it's technically on his property. I mean, the land his family owned goes on for miles. But I don't know. I mean, this was centuries ago. I don't know what would give him persistent interest.
Alice asks, do you know a guide, Pablo? And I mentioned
Pablo Garza. Yeah, he's good. You know, again, he doesn't speak English is a big problem. Not. I mean, I speak Spanish. You speak Spanish. We get along fine with him. He's a little superstitious, but you know, it seems to know his stuff.
Would you mind if we asked him along as well? I mean, 2 guides better than just one.
And he says, you know, and he says, no, of course not. That would be fine. But what you see in his face, especially Adrian, is, oh, I see. You don't have any faith in me. But yeah, it's like, but no, sure. Yeah, that makes, I mean, I don't know. It might delay us another day. I don't know if he's available to set off tomorrow, but.
Rick, we're not thinking you're incompetent. It's just as good to have as many hands on deck as possible.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Rick. Oh, sweetie Rick. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, and Alice will glance towards James and the others and said, "Well, perhaps would you check with Pablo if he'd be available to join us tomorrow?"
Yeah, it's a little late, but yeah, I'll see if I can find him, and I'll send a message to your hotel.
And see if we can. I think we would want to leave tomorrow. We've already spent enough time preparing, and we want to get out there.
Oh, okay,
So, but
I'll see what I can do.
okay.
And he kind of
Alice reaches out and puts her hand on her head and says, "Thank you, Rick. We all want to get, but we all want to get back."
Oh yeah, no problem. We got this. Yeah, and he heads off back into town. James, I think you were going to address the group.
Yeah.
Was I too mean? Shouldn't I have done that, James? But
No, I'm a little paranoid. And I think I have reason to be. Last guide that was recommended, we didn't come back. And this is his land.
I do feel like sending Rick to find the person that he feels is his replacement.
well, he's not his
That's a bit
replacement. So that's why, I thought I'd ask Rick, because, he's still the top guy. He'll be the
Well,
one communicating, but I mean,
I'm not a learned individual, street smarts and all, but it seems to me that with Rick being freed up a bit, he should really write a book about this.
And that's why he needs to get back. And we all want to get back. And I think Rick seems like a very competent young man, etc. But I do think that Mr. De La Vega did make a point that we want somebody with local knowledge and, well, somebody superstitious. That sounds like somebody who probably knows stuff about here. And she kind of leans back a bit. I can imagine that we're back in the hotel lobby near the bar.
Sure.
We've landed there. And I say, I do think we need to keep an eye on this guide. Let's
Agreed.
get Rick on in, because it's De La Vega's land, as Sal said. He recommended a guide. They did not come back. He went out of his way to try and dissuade us from bringing Rick, but we're bringing Rick. We're bringing Rick.
De La Vega did clearly have some personal disdain for outsiders, I believe he put it.
Well, outside guides, he seemed nice enough to us.
Yeah, I just get the heebie-jeebies. Something's wrong with him.
Something's
He's
off.
just
I'm
too
with you, Sal.
nice.
I agree. Something smells to me. He would not. He was trying to get us to bite on the guide thing. We purposely didn't. So he went ahead and just made a point of it because we were not going to take his bait. And again, last group didn't come back with one of his guides. It's on his land. You're 100% right, Alice. We need to watch this person very, very
He
closely.
could be paying the bandits.
Yeah.
And I think Rick, we can be quite sure. I've got a good feeling about Rick.
As do I.
Yeah. So I think I probably ruffled his feathers a bit. You guys went out for drinks with him later on tomorrow in the morning. Make sure, he knows that we're doing this to, well, appease De La Vega, but he's the one we trust.
Yep.
And we'll be keeping an eye on the other guy. If he can make it, but of course if we can, but let's, oh geez, it's so hot here. Let's I think, yeah, let's head to bed, get ready, head out in the morning, and make sure Rick knows he's with us.
I'll take care of that.
So before you go to bed, or like as you're getting ready for bed, a note is slipped under your door, probably under James's door, because I think he sort of presents as the head of the group here. It's basically a note from Rick that basically says Pablo is in, won't be able to leave until around 10 tomorrow morning. He wants to go to church first. Tomorrow is Sunday, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, sounds like that's it. Any other things you want to do tonight other than rest up and be ready to head into the jungle?
I'm going to start. I was going to start hydrating now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You have to wake up and pee a few times, but it's okay. It's worth it. And with that, I think we should probably take a 10-minute break and then get ready to head off into the jungle.
Beautiful. We're
Sounds
back in
good.
10.
All righty.
right.
All right. So the following morning, the expedition gathers up in kind of one of the plazas in Merida, near the south end of town. Rick is with you. He's hired like 10 porters, which seems like a lot, but they're all pretty well equipped and packed with stuff. You are introduced to Pablo Garza, your other guide, who is he's friendly. He's not like outgoing friendly. He's polite, but he tends to, he seems to be a little bit introverted. He talks to the porters and he talks to Rick and gives you a little basic idea of where he's going. Sal is warming up that shotgun.
Yeah, I tell you what, man.
He's got a big silver crucifix around his neck. He seems to know what he's doing. He's got his own pack of supplies and everything together. And if everyone is ready, he basically Rick sort of packs everybody into one of those big pickup trucks with like the bench seating along the side. This battered old yellow thing that's probably from the 1920s. And spends about an hour driving down this muddy road, and then eventually he turns right down a path that is like a little bit wider than the truck, but not much. And after about 10 minutes going down that path, he kind of parks and gets out, and you can see that the road comes to like the top of like not a cliff but like a drop off down below, so there's nowhere for the road to go, and there is another similar truck already parked up here. The doors are open, and Rick is like, well, I wonder if that was Dominguez's truck. And he kind of glances at it and says, looks like somebody may have looted it.
I'm gonna poke around on that truck if I could.
You see there's some boot prints around it, but it's been a while. There's been a lot of rain, so you can't tell much. There are some other tire tracks nearby, so there was probably another vehicle here at some point relatively recently. It looks like if anything of value was left in the truck, it's not there now.
Yeah. And what tires the bandits buy.
Exactly. It says, all right, well, we're got a little bit of a late start, so we should probably get some miles under our feet before it gets dark. And he starts it's like you see Rick start down this path, and then he kind of stops and looks at Pablo and sort of gestures forward, and Pablo kind of shrugs and takes the lead. And so you and your guides and your porters start heading off into the jungle. So none of your characters have spent any.
Oh, your mic's going weird.
Okay. Is this better?
You're back. Yep.
Cool. So none of your characters have really spent any time in the jungle. So there's the three main things that strike you about it. Obviously, it's unbelievably oppressively hot. You thought it was hot back in town, but it's so humid under the canopy. It's like you're walking through a sauna. You wipe off sweat and it's immediately back. And just with the amount of shade you've got from the jungle canopy, how is it still this hot? It's also loud. There are, strange bird calls and distant monkeys and insects are just constant. It is surprising how loud it is out here. And you almost have to shout to be heard as you're walking. You can hear sort of the thud of machetes up ahead, clearing some brush out of the path, that sort of thing. And it's also just such utter wilderness. There's nothing man-made here other than what you have and what you've brought with you. It's probably, you certainly feel like you're as far from civilization as you've ever been. And basically you start making your way through the jungle. It's pretty quiet. There's not a lot of conversation going on as you go. Occasionally Rick and Pablo will have a quick conversation in Spanish, kind of looking this way, looking that way, deciding which way to go. But there doesn't seem to be any real question about getting lost or not knowing where you're going. It's just sort of this way looks easier, this will be less time, kind of thing. One thing I will say, Sal, the Thompson is heavy, and it's starting to wear on you in the heat as it goes on. So from a mechanical standpoint, if you're carrying this by yourself, it's functionally going to be a point of health per day, just sort of from the wear and tear of carrying it around. If you want, you can give it to one of the porters. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing Sal would do, but you know him better than I do. That's what I thought. All right. So yeah, it's a little strenuous, but
Yep, I'll take it.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, several hours go by, and it's tedious and hot, but nothing particularly difficult or interesting happens. You take a short lunch break. They've packed a lot of they've got some fresher stuff like tamales and stuff for today, and then there's going to be a lot of dried foods and sort of things for the rest of it. And shortly after that short break, the path comes by some big stone pillar or marker of some kind. It's like 9 feet tall. It's got a lot of carvings on it. Rick definitely stops to take a look at it as soon as you guys come up next to it. And he sort of, very carefully takes his machete and sort of cuts away some of the vines that are covering it. And you can see that the carvings are showing what look like warriors of some kind, standing on top of these decapitated bodies, and they're holding the heads up as though to show triumph or show their victory. There are carvings of like snakes coming out of the decapitated necks, which Rick says is traditionally how they indicated blood in a lot of these paintings. Adrian, this definitely looks like a Mayan art style to you. It also looks like there is probably a chunk broken off the top, so there was probably more to the carving that you can't see anymore. Rick kind of stops and takes a rubbing of it. He grabs a piece of paper and some charcoal and just does thing. He says, apparently the Shoshul put these on their borders to warn the Maya away. So these warriors are Shoshul and the dead guys are Mayan. This is really great. He seems very excited by it. Pablo seems a little bit nervous. You can see he's talking to the guide, the porters rather. Alice, you have enough Spanish to notice he's basically saying we should be quiet and respectful as we go. We don't want the ghosts of the Shoshul to become angry. Fantastic. And most of the porters don't seem like that bothers them, but Pablo himself is clearly nervous.
Could I ask Alice translate for me, asking Pablo if there's anything specific we should be doing, or just be quiet and respectful?
And he looks like a little embarrassed that you heard that, and he says, no, it is just some say that the Shoshul still haunt these lands, so we do not want to attract their attention. But yeah, he doesn't seem to have any specific recommendations in mind. And then once that's all done, you pack up and continue going. And honestly, the rest of the day is pretty uneventful. You probably catch a glimpse of a jaguar in the distance. It doesn't seem to have any interest in dealing with you. It's hot and tedious, but you make some good distance. And then as it starts getting dark, Rick and Pablo confer. You find a decent place to start setting up camp. So the porters are pitching the tents and starting a fire and doing all the usual stuff. Any particular plans? I mean, are you guys planning to set watches? Are we, sleeping in shifts? Or are you just camping out? What's the plan for the evening?
I think I'm going to try to coordinate that with you, Sal. Let's try to get, at least 3 hours blocks, right? So we're not exhausted. Are you doing okay? With your pack?
It's a little heavy.
Do you want to switch it up tomorrow? Do you want to?
I'm good, man. Thank you, though.
Right. You let me know.
Will do.
But that's what I would like. I think Sal and I are going to one sleep 3 hours, one stay up by the campfire, and then just switch back and forth.
Well, I mean, you both need more than enough rest. I mean, Adrian and I can also take a watch.
And I'll hand my shotgun to you, Alice, and go, you're familiar, comfortable?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Just breaking it down, field stripping it.
Well, she handles it well enough. I mean, she's been in the army, so
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not. I mean, it's not a car, but you can kill with this too.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's as big as a barn, I shouldn't miss it. So
Yeah.
So that being the case, I think we could probably be reasonably rested if we're going to split it 3 or even 4 ways through the night. So that's good.
Yeah, probably, everybody takes a 2.5 hour shift and you should be fine.
And
Beautiful.
Alice wants to check with Pablo and Rick, and she'll go to them together and ask, but ask it in English. She's towards Pablo, her Spanish she's trying to make her Spanish worse than it actually is. But
Okay.
so she's trying to also gives Rick some, respect by addressing him.
Mhm.
Is like ask whether they've seen any signs of the previous expedition. Do they think that this would have been the path that they took?
Rick kind of has a brief conversation with Pablo, and then he sort of turns back and says, I don't, they've come through here several weeks ago, by all that we know. So, I mean, this is the logical route for them to be taken. But I haven't seen any specific signs, but things go back pretty quickly here. So I don't know that we would. I also haven't seen any signs of other people in the area. So, hopefully that means there aren't any bandits around.
That's probably good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And Pablo says a couple more things to Rick in Spanish, and he translates basically, he says, you might see some eyes in the jungle, which might be a jaguar or a puma hunting. Shouldn't be a problem. They probably won't come close to the fire. Snakes, again, probably won't come close to us unless we do them. So there shouldn't be any problems.
Okay.
Basically. Good. And indeed, the night passes without incident. I imagine none of you sleep especially well between the heat and the noise and just the discomfort of sleeping rough. And the morning, if anything, seems hotter than the previous day.
Super.
But you're able to get packed up and start making your way south again. After maybe an hour or so of the travel, there is a rumble of thunder, and within a couple minutes, it is just torrenting down rain. It's you've got the leaves all shaking around you with it. The trail is getting very muddy. The water is surprisingly cold, which is nice for the first few seconds, and then rapidly becomes uncomfortable. And your visibility is pretty crappy. Pablo looks like he's thinking, he'll actually talk to Rick, and Rick kind of comes to you guys and says, Pablo seems to think we should turn back until the weather clears, because these storms can last a long time, sometimes days. I think we'll be fine as long as we take our time. We could stop and make camp, but by the time we get it set up, everything is going to be soaked. So I think we should continue. It's your call. You're
When he says head back, what does he mean, Rick?
I think he wants to head back to town until the weather clears.
No, that's
not
not an
gonna
option.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. But
I mean, but can't we? Do you think this is going to last for, more than an hour or something? We might be able to kind of set up a shelter and wait it out a bit, or is it just?
I mean, it's hard to say. These things can last 5 minutes or 2 days. Alice, you've got some outdoorsman in you.
Yep.
It didn't really feel like thunderstorm weather, which is a little odd. But given that, you're guessing it probably won't last too long.
So
Hopefully,
I'm perhaps wishful think, but I mean, we're not heading back. Shall we try and? I mean, it's this is walking in the rain. We might get lost. Let's try and set up a shelter. Just broader shelter. Keep stuff, set stuff up a bit, and then just wait it out a bit. Rest. I mean, we can all do with some rest. It's been pretty hard. And I know we've only been going for a day, but this isn't something. And she'll look towards Pablo when she says it. We're not really experienced as all these porters and all these guides are, who have experience and are really fit for this type of work. So if we can set up a shelter, perhaps rest for an hour or two. Hopefully it'll clear up.
Yeah. And Rick kind of nods his head, and he calls out to the porters, and you can see them, take out the machetes and try and clear a little space off to the side of the trail, where you can set up like just a little lean-to to try and keep.
Kind of a canvas over.
And the storm persists for hours, and eventually, Rick comes to you again, and he's like, "Well, at this point, I feel like we might as well just go ahead and set up camp because." Even if we start traveling now, we're not going to get real far. So if you agree with that, he'll go ahead and get stuff setting up. It's a miserable afternoon. It's a miserable night. Kind of slows your travel down a bit, obviously, but I assume more or less the same setup with watches overnight. Yep. They've got like a little, they make this little makeshift thing with like big banana leaves over the fire to keep it, lit a little bit. It takes some tending overnight. So, everybody sets up camp and sort of gets to sleep. Anybody who wants to, can make me a sense trouble test. I don't know why you would want to do that.
I will do that, and I will spend a point as well.
Okay.
And I'm doing the same.
Alrighty.
Where is my sense trouble right now? Yeah, I'll spend a point as well.
Okay. All right. So Sal is apparently busy kind of stretching his back and trying to get the kinks out of his shoulder from toting that gun around all day. But the rest of you, as dinner is wrapping up, you realize that you don't see Rick.
I'll find him, I say. I kind of recognize. I think I sense. Everybody else is kind of looking around. I don't think anybody needs to say anything. And for some reason, I've got it in my head that he's my responsibility now. I don't know why.
I'll go with you.
Stay close. Stay inside of the camp. And it's jungles can be really, really deceptive. I mean, keep eye contact.
Okay. So. What's the plan?
Do you want me to ask Pablo?
That's a good idea before we head out.
Yeah. So.
Pablo's like, I don't know. He was just here a minute ago. Maybe he went to make water.
Okay. I'm sure it's fine.
So you guys like heading out, calling his name, basically?
I don't think I'm calling his name. I think we're gonna kind of we're not necessarily, being sneaky about it, but we're also not going to make a big ruckus either.
Yeah, we don't want to call attention to ourselves.
Okay.
But yeah, stay together. I've got my rifle out, and just do some poking around, but not enough to get lost, if that makes any sense.
Sure, I get it. You're staying close enough. I know you're not especially trying to be sneaky, but you're also trying not to be noticed. So go ahead and both of you give me a stealth roll.
Sure.
Your target number is going to be 4.
4, you said?
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing a point down. Do we have a refresh?
You have not had a refresh since you got to Mexico City, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Sal moves surprisingly quietly for a big guy. James, you're probably doing fine until some vine or something trips up your ankle or something. But as you're making way, and then you see Rick kind of coming back towards the camp through the jungle.
Mhm.
And I would say, Sal, you probably notice, like in the distance behind him, it looks like there's another person, like slipping away into the jungle. Rick looks concerned as he gets close to you.
I'm going to run to
I-
Rick.
I point that out to James.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
He
you
was talking
catch
to somebody.
just a glimpse of this figure going out there.
Does
And-
James see it?
You see like what might be a person. It's
Okay.
dark and pretty far in the jungle. It's hard to say.
Running up to Rick, I'm going to grab Rick by the
Mhm.
front of his shirt
Right.
and go, "Who was it? Who was that? Where
I
were
don't-
you? Who was that?"
I was taking a leak, and then this guy shows up with a rifle and told me to tell everybody to turn around and go home. I figure it was bandits, but I don't know why they
Sal?
wouldn't.
You see Sal pull out his knife.
Mhm.
Is that your final answer?
Jesus, yes.
Let's go.
All
Sal.
right.
And I've rifle ready now, not casually carrying it anymore. And I want to see how convinced this person is we need to turn around.
Okay, so you're going to head into the jungle at night to try and find him?
We are heading into the jungle at night to try to find them, much to Alice's chagrin, apparently.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, just to be clear, you're going to be, significantly farther from the camp when you do that.
Yeah, there's this is not optimal. This is not an optimal James choice. It is definitely a James choice, though, I think.
Yo,
Okay.
James. This isn't the city. This is a jungle. How many times have you been in a jungle, my friend?
Oh, once. Sal, there's somebody out there that just put a gun on one of our people, telling
Yeah.
us to turn around.
And we wouldn't get 5 feet within him. We couldn't see him. He's got a rifle. He can smoke us at 100 yards. You want that? Next time anybody go out of camp, we go in pairs. But I don't think running off into the jungle here is a great idea.
I don't like this, Sal.
Yeah, well, I don't either, but old Sal knows his limitations.
Say bad words, kind of under my breath, and then follow Sal back.
Did I ever tell you about my Uncle Vinny? How he died in a jungle very similar to this?
No, Sal, tell me about Uncle Vinny.
Well, Vinny was a traveling man, and gosh darn it, he found himself in the jungle on some sort of run. God knows what he was picking up, and he was bit a couple times with snakes. They found him, and he, strangely enough, staked to the ground, and all eagles spread, and naked as a baby, and Well, some of his skin was missing. Well, a lot of his skin was missing.
Yeah, I get the idea.
Rick just kind of
Steph.
gives you this horrified look as this conversation is going on.
I get the idea, Sal. Appreciate it. Rick, you good with us keeping going? How scared are you by this? Well, like, what is your take?
Well, shit, I'm not used to having a gun put in my face. I mean, God knows I want to go on, but I'm also, I mean, Sal's right. We're kind of at their mercy if they're out here with rifles.
We're not unprotected, but we're going to need to play smart at this point.
Did this person sound like a local to you, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was all in Spanish. It sounded local to me.
Okay.
That it was that snake, Delavia, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wasn't him.
No, he hired that dude.
Yeah, but then why wouldn't he have just told us we couldn't go?
Too obvious. He'd know the jungle's going to kill us, and if the jungle doesn't kill us, his bandits would.
Yeah, sure.
So when we get a chance to get back to camp, Brian, Alice, Doc, I bring you in and say, so this just happened.
It was a local, not an American.
Yeah, it was a local.
Nobody you recognized, Rick?
Mm-mm. I couldn't even really get a good look at him. It's dark out there.
Do we tell Pablo and the others?
I think we do. You're saying no,
Yeah.
Sal?
No, I think he's in on it.
Okay.
It just
Well,
something
I
doesn't
don't know if
feel
he's
right.
in on it, but they need to know. Has it stopped raining, by the way, or is it still?
It's down to a drizzle now. It's
Okay,
stopped
it's down
raining.
to a drizzle. Then I
And
say,
you know what he's going to do? He's going to blame it on some sort of spooky tribe and then insist that we go back.
well,
think-
perhaps they need to be aware that there's danger, and perhaps we just say is that Rick,
They're
you just
aware
pass
of
this
danger
off
now.
as you know, we're the crazy gringos. We're getting a bit paranoid, but we're determined to go on. And you know, you think you saw some bandits or something. So let's stick together. Everybody needs to be on the lookout.
And you can tell that Rick is himself very torn about going on.
Yeah.
I mean, this has shaken him a bit.
Rick, you said you couldn't see his face at all, or could you get a glimpse of it?
Mm-mm. I mean, he was a little taller than me, you know, kind of heavy set, but I couldn't.
But
pick him
hey,
out.
Rick, and Alice leans forward. Do you know what this means?
Means there are people out there getting ready to kill us.
It means we're on the right path. It means there are people who don't want us to go where we want to go. And that's where we're going. So, you want Cheech and Choo? We'll get Cheech and Choo.
So does anybody have a point of reassurance left?
I've got
Kind of
flattery.
I've got
I've got flattery.
intimidation.
I mean, you're a
it up, sunflower.
handsome, smart young man. You are going to make your mark. You are going to be famous for this. And you know, you don't just turn tail at the first. You know, you're brave. You don't just turn tail at the first native local person trying to take away your claim to fame.
Spend me that point of flattery.
Oh,
And he looks
yeah.
a little bit dubious, but he's like, yeah, no, it's probably fine.
And Rick, when you talk to the porters and the crew here, you know, yeah, tell them that the crazy gringos, you know, are insisting on going. And two things. One, let them know that we pay well. And we appreciate the extra danger. And second thing is, we may never have been in the jungle before, and I kind of motioned to Sal, but we know how to handle ourselves, and we know how to protect our people, and they are now our people.
And tell them we pay well when we get back. We pay extremely well when we get back.
I'll tell him these tend to be, you know, cash on the barrelhead folks, but I'll pass it on. I mean, if somebody wanted to spend a point of credit rating to
Yeah, sure.
spread around a little bit of extra extra
Where's my
encouragement.
credit rating? Yeah.
I've got 3.
I've only got 1 left, so if you don't mind, that'd be great.
I'll spend 1 and 3. So I hope
Okay.
the next.
I can do it if you like. I have 4.
Perfect. Money bags.
Yeah, exactly.
As do I.
All right, so you see him quietly going around and giving some pesos to the guys who, I mean, they take it gratefully. It makes them a little nervous that someone is passing out extra money, but he's like, it looks we've seen signs of bandits, but these guys have guns. They know what they're doing. We'll be fine. Of all of them, Pablo, not surprisingly, seems the most nervous about the whole thing, but he, sort of begrudgingly nods and accepts it. Any changes to setting watch or anything overnight? Okay. So yeah, nothing further happens that evening. The morning comes, the rain has stopped. It's still, damp and humid. It's a little bit cooler, at least for the moment. So the mood is kind of nervous and a little bit sullen, but everybody gets everything packed up. And you start heading off south, a little more to the southeast. Now it looks like they feel like Rick says, we should probably get there today. Maybe with some daylight left. And a couple hours after you set off, the jungle kind of opens up in front of you, and you can see bits of broken stone walls and the top of some kind of vine-covered pyramid, down there. And Rick gets really excited. He's like, yeah, this is it. This is definitely it. And then I would like everybody to make me a sense trouble roll with a target number of 5.
5.
5.
Spending.
Damn it.
Okay.
Nice dodge.
So, yeah, Adrian comes through. So you're kind of approaching, the edge of the forest that opens out into this area. And Adrian, you hear like some weird clicking sounds in the jungle that don't sound like animals or insects, and you're not quite sure what you are. James, you hear them too, and you know exactly what they are. That is a bolt action rifle being cocked. And there's a couple of them on either side of you. What do you want to do?
I yell, show yourselves, you cowards.
Okay. Mac?
We'll just start motioning like the porters to Rick. Everyone just kind of like, let's keep our heads down. Maybe we crouch a little. Maybe we crouch a little.
Okay.
And Adrian stays standing up, but tells everybody else to start.
Where's the nearest cover?
I mean, honestly, other than going into the jungle, and it sounds like there's people on either side of you, so that may not be that much help, would probably be some of the ruins up ahead.
Okay.
In fact, let me give you a rough idea of what it looks like. In fact, why don't we just move over here? And you guys are coming in kind of in this area at the edge of the map, or at the edge of the clearing, I should say. So James yells out, show yourself. Adrian's telling everybody to get down. And there is a moment's silence. And then the gunfire starts.
Super.
So I'm just gonna roll some dice here. Don't mind me. Let me get this. Da, 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 da. Checking some stuff. Da, 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 da. Yeah, they're gonna get that. So I don't want 17. I want to show the additional dice. All right, let me see this. 3 of the porters go down. There is, let's see. Rick is hit. Takes a pretty good shot. He's still up, but he's significantly wounded. And then there is going to be a shot at Sal, which will hit him for 5 damage. It's a good shot. And 1 at James, which misses. You feel it whiz by your head. Rick kind of staggers back, and he just kind of says, "Get to the ruins for cover," and he starts staggering in that direction. Pablo doesn't like this at all. He is going to he just sort of panics and runs. You see him like throw his backpack off to make better speed, and he just goes running into the ruins. The surviving porters sort of all freeze for a moment, and then they look like they're starting to follow the guides. What do you guys want to do?
Yeah, go. Let's
Go,
then
yeah.
head into the ruins.
Yeah,
Sal, I'm checking on Sal. Has he fallen? What's?
Yeah,
He's
what's your
hurt
health
bad.
situation? Okay.
Yeah, I got 3 points.
Okay, you're above 0, which is where
Yep.
the mechanical impact starts. So he's definitely hurt, but he's mobile.
I'm gonna put him over, not
yeah.
pick him up, but help him walk.
Right, exactly.
I'm trying to help Rick.
Yeah, Rick looks like he's in pretty bad shape, but he's definitely moving. Let me just get everybody to make me an athletics roll with a target number of 4.
All right, I'm gonna spend 2 points.
Okay.
I'm spending 2 as well.
All right. Good choice. All right. So adrenaline is a hell of a thing. So you guys, I'm guessing the guides were probably heading in the direction of what's marked on the map as the ball court, since that seems like the main stone structure nearby. And there are a couple shots behind you, but I mean, certainly not as many as there were in that first volley. And nobody follows you. Nobody comes out to the jungle, and the shots don't seem to hit anyone else at this point. So you're able to get over to the this ball court area, which is basically it's kind of like a T-shaped area of grass with these slanted stone walls coming down on it. And as you get there and kind of duck behind the walls, there's like one last shot that caroms off the wall in the entrance and sends chips of stone flying, and then the gunfire has stopped. And as you kind of take a moment to catch your breath, sort of listening to see where these guys, if they're coming from, if they're moving in the jungle, whatever, you realize that this central grassy area in here is full of tents that have been just shredded and demolished, and there are dozens of bodies here.
How old?
Month or so, maybe.
I think we found what we're looking for.
Yep.
I think Alice is just not paying attention. She's like, okay, Sal, Rick here, come here, and she's just focusing on their wounds right away.
Okay. Yeah, Rick is at 0 health, which is mechanically starting to give him penalties. Basically, he's bleeding pretty badly. It doesn't look like it hit a lung or anything crucial, but he is not in a good way.
I think triage-wise, I'll see that Sal is badly hit, but it looks like Rick's.
Yeah. Sal is less in immediate danger.
Yeah, so I just, pull him to the side, looking around for a kind of a somewhat safe place, and just, checking the wound, seeing if there's an exit wound, putting pressure on it, grabbing his hand, put pressure on this, and grabbing my backpack and getting all the medical supplies out that I can.
Okay.
You see Sal grab his backpack too.
Okay.
And he's rooting around in it.
Well, depending on what you're looking for, it may be very easy to find.
Yes, it probably will be. It's probably right on top, too.
Yeah, I kind of thought so. All right, James, what about you?
I am on alert. So once I realize that Alice is going to kind of tend to the situation, and then I am, head on a swivel, walking with my rifle, and anything that moves might get shot.
So are you like staying behind cover? Are you walking out in the open to see better? What's the plan?
If I can, if I can keep cover as much as possible, that'd be great. I don't want to, paint a target on my forehead, but it's real important for me to get a sense of if they're still, the gunfire is stopped. Yes. So are they still out here, or not?
Yeah. So I'm thinking you probably, crouch down behind the edge of one of these walls so you can sort of look around without attracting too much attention. Go ahead and give me, I could see it maybe as a sense trouble roll, or sense trouble makes sense.
Spend another point. I've only got one left.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
I'm at 5. All right, those are 5.
Yeah, so basically you get the sense, I mean, it's the kind of thing, there's just this green wall, you can't really see anything in there, but you know how it is when it's like, if you walk into a room in the dark, you somehow know there's somebody there.
Right.
And you're pretty sure they're still out there. You get the feeling that they're just watching at this point. You don't hear any reloading sounds or anything like that. So, I mean, you definitely feel like you're being watched, but you don't see anybody. None of them seem to be coming close to the forest edge at this point.
I think I'm in such a heightened state right now that yelling in English, I don't realize how dumb it is for me to yell this out in English, but I do it anyway. I yell out, "What do you want from us? Somebody come out and talk here."
They're probably disinclined to say anything. Did you want to spend a point in maybe, I don't know, intimidation?
Intimidation, definitely.
Okay, sure. You can do that. There's kind of a long pause, and then you hear a voice yell back in in heavily accented English, and it's hard to make out, but it's something like, "No one who doesn't impress Golgoroth makes it out of Chichen Shoshul alive. I don't think they'll find any of you very impressive."
Give us a shot.
A rifle round pings off of the stone. It's not even near where James is. It seems like it was just somebody who thought they were being funny.
I'm going to yell out, "We worship the same thing. We're on the same side."
Well, then perhaps you'll be fine.
I'm doing first aid on Sal.
Okay. Yep, and 1 point of first aid is 2 points of healing. Although I think Alice is better at that.
I spend it's for me, I think 2 for 3. Let's see. Each point 1 point is 3 health, so
Nice.
You know, I imagine I spend one. Well, I've got 10, so I can spend 2 on Rick and 2 on Sol.
Okay. Yeah, that gets Rick back in great. And remember, you have that 3-point temporary pool, so you don't have to spend all of those
I'll spend
yourself if you
a
don't
total
want.
of 3 to, you know, I'm patching them up, and I can imagine Adrian is helping me out. And and I'm patching, I've gotten Rick stabilized, and then I move on to Sol, who's, you know, putting together his big gun, and, you know, and I'm just kind of ducking in between and getting around, like, you know, but it's clear that I've done this under these circumstances before. So.
Sure. Rick honestly seems to have some first aid knowledge, so he's honestly a pretty good patient. He holds the pressure. But yeah, he is doing much better now. You stop bleeding. Give it a couple, you know, very fast temporary stitches, sort of keep things shut, and he seems to be doing all right. Sal, where does 6 points of healing put you at?
Yeah, let's see. It puts me almost back to full.
Okay. Alice is really good at this, as it turns out.
Yeah. GSWs, she knows how to deal with those.
Indeed. Seen just a few.
I think we need to find what we can get of some cover, concealment, see what's in these packs, try to stack them up to make positions, because they're going to come for us, and they're going to come from all sides.
Yeah.
And is Pablo and the rest of the guides, they're here as well?
Yes, they
Huddled
are. Pablo is actually huddled with a couple of them praying, and the others are basically kind of looking around wild-eyed, basically trying to figure out where the next shots are going to come from.
I think Alice is just going to call over in Spanish, and, you know, once Sal, and I don't know if James has returned and said, you know, set up a perimeter or set up a camp, she's just going to shout in Spanish to them, like, you know, do this, do that.
Okay. And they, you know, sort of, once they're getting orders, they kind of shake it off and start doing their best to assemble stuff that's going on. I mean, they're clearly put off by the bodies, but they're doing their best to take whatever is functional and set up like a little barricade.
And perhaps, I think by that time, because other bodies, I'd say Alice is just going to instruct them, you know, drag the bodies away, pile the bodies up over there.
Okay.
Alice, what did they die of, Alice? Can you see?
She'll examine them.
Yeah, I mean, well, the first and most obvious things is that they're all headless.
Okay.
It looks like most of them have had the heads, you know, cut off with like a machete or something like that. Some of them look like they've been, for lack of a better term, torn off.
Sweet.
There are also some weirdly large bite wounds on some of them. Mac, you had a question?
No, I think you just answered it. I was going to ask if bitten off was a reasonable.
Yeah, no, that could be a conclusion you could draw from that information.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
it'd have to be a really big mouth, obviously, to do something.
Oh, we've never seen one of those
it's
before.
unlikely.
Not impossible, yeah.
Yeah. There are also arrows in a number of the bodies, and there's a spear stuck in one. So it looks like there was a combination of people attacking and something else.
Okay. So I think Alice is just, you know, seeing that, and when James asked what killed them, she said she'll just call back losing their heads, and just they lost their heads, and then just directing the porters, and she'll help along as well, just to get all the bodies to one side and trying to make according to Sal and James' instructions, kind of make a base, something that everybody can hide behind.
I mean,
Where are the heads?
You do not see the heads.
Yeah, beautiful.
Is there any of that orange crust anywhere that we saw?
I would say on a couple of the bodies, and to be fair, these bodies have been out in the jungle for a while. They're pretty ripe. This is an extremely unpleasant task. But in addition, I mean, they all have canteens and the usual survival equipment, but a couple of them have little vials of this sort of iridescent orange liquid
Yeah,
Some of them are full, some of them are half full. But yeah, a number of them are carrying that as well. You don't see any of the crusty stuff that you saw before, but this is kind of the same color.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that while Alice is just, business-like, trying to move the bodies away, that Adrian is kind of picking through the pockets, getting very curious.
I wasn't expecting to go through the pockets. I just had I was thinking, oh, gonna look for like any trails of the crust. Then apparently, no. Apparently, he's just pickpocketing.
Well, I mean, some like one of them fell out as
Yeah,
the body was
exactly.
being dragged, kind of thing.
He'll show that first, then continue looting.
Okay, all right, cool.
Alice just shout, Adrian, there's a time and a place for everything, and just
Eminence.
I'm going to turn to Sal and just say, are we just going to wait here?
We can't
Or
stay here long.
are you, or are we going forward?
I think we're going to have to take the offensive here. They're going to wait us out or kill us in the night.
I agree. So whenever you're ready, Sal, let's see if there's any kind of, if we can get any sense of a flank where we can potentially get back into the jungle.
Yeah, we've got jungle like really close to us, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty like it's on the other side of the back wall of this thing.
Yeah. And it looks like there's an opening that we can go out into the jungle.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like paths per se. There's one like heading off to the north that you can see over here, but most of it is just like, kind of the jungle has come right up to the edge of this stuff. So you could go into the jungle, over here, but
Yeah.
it'd just be basically making your way into fairly thick jungle.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll go in here.
Okay.
Yep. And then try to come around, see if there's just any possibility of us taking some level of offense here.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else that Alice or Adrian are doing other than dealing with making camp and looting bodies?
so getting rid of the bodies, setting up camp, setting up a defensive perimeter as much as possible, and Alice is, tending to anybody who got wounded, and
yeah, most of the
Yeah.
porters all seem fine. It's like the ones who got hit are just dead,
okay,
but the others are okay.
but she'll check them all over and just say like, okay, and then she's just giving orders, and she'll leave the offensive and the strategy to Sal and James.
Okay.
You said there are arrows in some of the bodies, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna try. I don't know if they're specifically gonna try and attack us again. I think it was more introduction.
What does that even mean, Doctor?
They said if Golgoroth doesn't find us impressive, we won't last either way. These people have their heads cut or bitten off, very similar to the murals that we saw. They're peppered in arrows, not gunshots. This could be a test, a ritual test.
And I will say, James, you notice looking around here that there are, like, you do see among the pools of blood and stuff, you do see some shotgun shells, like discharge shells. You don't see any rifle rounds casing here. So you don't see any immediate evidence that what was going on there is related to what happened to these guys.
Yeah. Doc, I've got to go one thread at a time right now. I know they have guns. I know they are shooting at us. Sal and I are going to clear that first, and then we're going to come back here. I'm going to pull my pistol out and hand it to you and not say anything.
Just be careful. They knew the name of whatever it's a value I was looking for, not even what was actually there. Just be careful.
Yeah, they're part of all of this, and enough's enough.
Well, as James and Sal sort of load up and start heading off into the jungle, and the rest of you are dealing with the bodies, I think that's a good time to roll credits for the week.
I think so too. We'll be right back.
In a mansion grand where secrets lie, Walter Winston lived, but he had to die. His daughter Janet, fierce and bold, hired a team to find the stories untold. Oh, Walter Winston, Mr. Mystery Man, caught in a web of a sinister plan, with cults and crimes and shadows so dark. His story ignites like a match to a spark. Ex-cop, doc, gangster, nurse in the mix, unraveling truths in a dance of tricks. Swinging through secrets, meet the moon's gleam. They chase the spurs of a deadly dream.
Okay.
Woo!
You know, I felt bad that James and Sal didn't have anything to fight with for a couple seconds, so I figured we'd give them a little bit to have fun.
During the credits, I told Brian that I've been a pile of dry kindling for a while, so this gives me an opportunity to solve problems the way I like to solve problems. And I've got somebody who I now implicitly trust, and he has a Tommy gun, so
That's probably good. I mean, you are heading into their territory, and you don't know how many there are or where they are, but it'll probably be fine. Big PC energy. So yeah, as long as we're talking about it, Craig, why don't you start us off with some thoughts, stars, and wishes?
I really did not know what to expect in this jungle, and this was not anticipated. I loved it. I like, in general, for these types of games, I love that mixture of mortal and supernatural threats. I think that, you know, it's very easy just to go full supernatural, but the melding of the two just turns the volume up. So very, very happy. I think star for me, I think my relationship with the doc. I think Adrian, I believe the relationship that's forming between James and Adrian, and I think Mac, you're doing a wonderful job of that. It's very believable to me, and to the point where I think James is shockingly open to it. So I think that's my star. As far as wishes, I hope we come back out from the jungle, I guess.
That's fair. It's entirely fair.
So yeah, those are my stars and wishes.
All right. Naomi, how about you?
Well, again, really enjoying it. I think my first thought was Adrian trying to push therapy on James, and I'm not quite sure whether that's just Adrian needing, you know, this kind of compulsive. She's found a victim / patient.
I can fix him.
Or something like that. So I was really like, oh yeah.
I can fix him, but fixing him is making him anti-capitalist.
Yeah, so it's just like it came more as it's coming across as this is something that Adrian needs to do. So
yeah,
so I really like that, and I'd say wishes, and I'm looking forward to see Sal shine with the Tommy gun. And Alice is, you know, she's patched him up, she's sent him out, she's ready to patch him up again. And I just hope that, and I'm not this is definitely not meant to give Brian any ideas, but I hope that the Tommy gun made it through all the rain well. So I'm counting on that because
It was well oiled.
Oh yeah, I mean, Sal has been expending a lot of effort to tote that thing through. I'm not going to have it
so
fail on it.
I said during the I just imagine that Sal's going like that. Yeah, that was worth it. And I mean, he's got he's chafed, he's tired, he's bothered. There's blood and all that kind of stuff. You know, just go shoot him up. Yeah,
exactly. So while we're on the topic, Chris, what are your thoughts and stars and wishes for the week?
Star for me is Alice. Under fire, and she took command, and just, I mean, she's doing the military thing, and it's amazing how well that will work. You know, and she's like, you do this, and in real life, that's the way it works too. I mean, it's very good to see that level of detail and thought go into how you're role playing your character. So
yeah,
I can certainly appreciate that from a military standpoint.
Yeah, I love the comparison of the woman who was annoying the clerk at the police department in Los Angeles with stories of her uncle compared to this woman now cool under fire taking charge. I love it.
For me, the wish, I share the same wish as James. I hope we come out. I do rather like the level of tension has been creeping up.
Yeah.
Now it's to the point where it's palpable that you can cut it with a knife, and walking that edge is just, it's delicious.
Excellent. All right, Mac, how about you?
I think my star is kind of going off what you said, Brian, just a bit earlier, of just getting to see Alice, how quickly and how effectively she can change modes of being at the La Vegas and having that air, then talking with Pablo in like intentionally dumbing down her Spanish, and now just being fully in an element of getting things done. Just how quickly and easily she can kind of fulfill whatever role she needs to kind of make sure that we don't die.
Yeah.
I think Alice is low key the heart of this group. Not to put any shade on anybody else, but you know,
High key, the only reason we're alive.
Yeah.
Also fair.
Still running recklessly head on into this, so.
But it always works. You're running head first in a car is the thing.
Until it doesn't.
That's the whole thing about reckless charges. Yep, it keeps working until it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have any wishes for next time?
Wishes? I'm just really excited to see, now that we're at like ruins, see kind of the history of whatever this cult is expanding, kind of learning a bit more about them. I'm very excited for that.
It's time to get some answers.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this part. Little trivia about me: I was an anthropology major in college, specializing in the Maya. So I'm all excited about this part. I will try not to go on in too much detail about stuff you don't actually care about. But yeah, this is going to be really interesting for me as a DM or a GM, because you're in a situation where you're very far away from any kind of reinforcement, and as we can see, you're already getting fairly low on some of those pools. So this is going to be walking a little bit of a tightrope to see how you guys do, and I'm anxious to see how it develops. Craig, do we have our next date scheduled?
We do. So we're going to be back here in 2 weeks. Same bat channel, same bat time. Next week, starting tomorrow, is a hell of a week here on the channel. So tomorrow we're doing what is likely the last episode of Public Access, the finale for it. Don't want to miss it. If you've not watched the other ones, you got some catching up to do. It's incredible. Amazing cast as always. And then every other day we have another stream. So this coming Tuesday, we're doing what might be also the finale of Brindlewood Bay, though I think that might be second. There might be 2 more episodes of Brindlewood Bay, but it's very possible, or it is possible, that we could wrap things up on Tuesday for Brindlewood Bay. After that, it's all Brian all the time. We've got Plans again on the 25th, this coming Thursday. And then A week from today, same bat channel, same bat time, we get Naomi and Brian back for another episode of Shiver Gothic, kind of the surprise hit for some of the newer stuff that we've had on the channel. And I've been keeping notes, Brian, so you make my life hard on this Saturday, I make your life hard on the next Saturday. It works out perfect.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thanks everybody for sticking with us. If you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you too. Do the clicky, likey, subscribey things. You know how this thing works.
You know how it goes. Talk to everybody
Exactly.
soon. See some of you tomorrow.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.